Hello, after only 4 short years, film news is back. If you're interested why, I'll explain at the end. But for now, let's not waste any time looking at the best film stuff around this week. 10 years after Under the Skin, Jonathan Glazer has a new film. The Zone of Interest is about a family of Nazis living the middle class dream in a house right up against the wall of Auschwitz. The film has gotten great reviews coming out of the Venice and London film festivals. Since right back when he directed the Amazing Rambler commercial, Glazer has been known for his visual style. And even in the trailer, this film projects an intense look. Glazer and Polish DP Lukasz Zal shot with up to 10 cameras at once, which were later removed in post-production. This let Glazer shoot continuously for long periods of time without stopping for technical adjustments. Apparently shooting takes, then restarting immediately for up to 45 minutes. I've never heard of anyone doing this before and I'm excited to see the results. Respect to the poor editor, who must have had to go through the mountain of rushes, and the VFX people who painted out all those cameras. The other thing mentioned in most reviews has been the sound design by Johnny Byrne, which manages to evoke the unbelievably unsettling mood of living next to a death factory. Byrne has worked with Glazer before, as well as on several of Yorgos Lanthimos' films, so yeah, guy knows what he's doing. The trailer alone looks great, and take a look at the poster, surely one of the best of the year. Well excited to see this one. From one shit place to live to another, and the list of countries you wouldn't want to be stuck in, North Korea has to rank pretty high. Beyond Utopia is a documentary about people escaping from the Hermit Kingdom. The film is largely made up of mobile phone footage shot by the people doing the escaping. The narrative follows a chap called Pastor Kim, who has made it his mission in life to get people out of North Korea, and one family trying to make that journey. Along the way, covering the insane cult that is North Korean society, and the dangers of getting out, or even helping someone get out. For example, if a border guard is caught letting someone cross, not just them, but their entire family will be imprisoned. Consequently, this bribe alone can cost $5,000, with the whole escape costing anything up to 20, which Pastor Kim has to find a way to raise. The film is directed by Madeline Gavin. She seems to have a background in docs and as an editor, but I admit she's not someone whose work I know. It won the Audience Award for US Documentary at Sundance. Despite that, its cinema release has been pretty limited, but based on the trailer and the stories from those who've made the escape, I'm looking forward to seeing this when it drops on streaming.
When it comes to all-time great acting faces, Mads Mikkelsen's has got to be up there. The guy even looks moody when he smiles. On a face moodiness scale, he's somewhere between Tommy Lee Jones and an unimpressed house cat. Bilge Ebiri's review of director Nikolai Arcel's new film, The Promised Land, spends several paragraphs ruminating on Mads' cold, hard stare, and quite rightly too. The Promised Land is about a broke Danish war veteran, Ludvig Kalen, played by Mikkelsen, who tries to make his fortune by civilising a wild area of land called Jutland Heath for the Danish king. More importantly for Kalen, this would increase his status in the world. The Danish title of the film translates as The Bastard, which gives you an idea of where Kalen is starting from in life. An already impossible task is complicated when Kalen comes up against a local aristocrat, Frederick de Schinkel, who enjoys boiling the odd peasant alive. You know, for the bants. Director Arcel made his name on the international level with a film called A Royal Affair, which also starred Mads Mikkelsen. He then went off to Hollywood and made a TV adaptation of Stephen King's The Dark Tower, which apparently didn't get received too well. I haven't seen that series, but I have seen A Royal Affair. It's a beautiful film made in a comparatively low budget that was just a bit too predictable and had me looking at my watch for the last half hour. You know when you're watching a film and thinking, this would be a great film, if it ends now. That said, The Promised Land has a generally good reviews on its festival run, and I'm looking forward to it. It was released in Denmark this month, and hopefully the rest of us will get it soon. Reality Winner is a whistleblower who was arrested in 2017 for leaking classified documents to the press. If you were confused by that sentence, Reality Winner is a person's name. Gotta be honest, I'd never heard of this story, but apparently the American government were a little unhappy about the whole thing, because they gave her the longest sentence ever for that particular crime. But what grabbed my attention about this film is the unique way it's structured. When the FBI first questioned Winner and searched her house, they made an audio recording of the whole thing. This film's dialogue is taken word for word from that tape. This could have led to a stilted reconstruction of events type feel, but the device actually works really well. I think this is largely down to some great acting which convincingly sells the dialogue. The film is the debut feature by Tina Satter, based on her own play. She's got to be given credit for the excellent work she did with the cast, and some nice staging to keep a story which takes place in and around a house visually interesting. The film also keeps things to a compact 80 minutes runtime, which is to its credit. I have to say there were some visual devices used to indicate that some parts of the recording had to be redacted from the film. I found these jarring and they interrupted the flow of the story for me. If you watch the film, I think you'll see what I mean, and let me know in the comments if you think the same. That gripe aside, I'd really recommend you check out this film and its unique premise. It premiered in HBO and is now on several streamers. Kokomo City is a debut feature from D. Smith. The film grabbed several awards and a lot of positive press at Sundance and through its cinema run. It follows the lives of a group of black trans sex workers in the US. What first grabbed me about this film on seeing the trailer was the beautiful black and white it's shot in. Credit for this goes to Smith, who directed, shot and edited herself despite no previous filmmaking experience. Smith had had a career as a songwriter and producer, but when that ended she was broke. She managed to get herself a camera and went out and made this film. The film is essentially a series of monologues from several trans sex workers about their experiences. They talk about the dangers of sex work. It's not a line of work any of them want to be in, and since the film's release, one of the participants has been shot dead. These aren't people you hear from every day, and you can't help but feel empathy when you hear stories of their rejection by family members, and the people who will use their services but won't be seen in public with them. That said, the lack of a narrative can make it hard to become invested. It would have been good to see a bit more of the women's lives rather than just hear them talk about them. The film might not grab you the way the best documentaries do, but it's worth watching if only to get some understanding of a group of people forced into a very dangerous life. You know when you're watching a film and thinking, I see what they're doing here and it's a good idea, but it's wearing a bit thin now. In The Adults, the new film by Dustin Lee Deffa, Michael Cera plays Eric, a young man returning home to see his sisters. Their mother has died a few years previously and they've drifted apart. If you think this trailer screams quirky American indie, you wouldn't be wrong, but I'm not holding that against it. The film builds up a tense atmosphere between Eric and his sisters. It's a believable portrait of siblings who've lost touch with each other emotionally and are directionless alone. The cast are great. Sarah has an awkward energy that really works here. The film comes across more as a convincing look into their little world together, and a lot of narrative threads are thrown out there and not explored any further. But to be honest, I'm okay with that. It's fine just to live in people's world for a while, and the film builds that world convincingly. One aspect that stands out is how the characters, in place of actually sharing their feelings, communicate with each other through songs and characters they made up as children. I really like this as a concept, but it did start to get on my nerves after a while. There's only so much of Michael Cera doing the voice of an old British man that I can take. That said, some reviewers found these scenes, quote, exhilarating, so you may feel differently to me. Filmmaking AI sucks. Okay, that's not quite what Tim Weber, the chief exec of visual effects company Framestore, said. But for the last few months, it feels like we've been hearing increasingly bold claims about how AI will affect filmmaking. Recently, Avengers director Joe Russo claimed a fully AI-generated film was just 2 years away. I'm not sure I buy that, and it's nice to get a bit more of a realistic take from Weber amongst all the hype. Did you know that Richard Burton kind of killed his own brother? That's one of the many crazy stories from a new book on the marriage between Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. For a while they were the most famous couple in the world, but they were also by all accounts a complete unhinged mess. This review in The Guardian makes an entertaining and kind of disturbing read. I've never seen a film starring the comedy double act of Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, but this article on the duo by Ciara Maloney from Mubi makes me want to. For 10 years, Martin and Lewis were among the biggest stars in the world, comparable to the Beatles and Elvis. Maloney outlines their careers, the intense relationship between them, and their eventual falling out. A great read.
You know when you have done something and you wake up the next morning, you just feel like you want to dig a hole to yourself.
Random film recommendation of the week is a documentary called Hotel Coolgardie. The fly-on-the-wall film is about two backpackers from Finland who take jobs working at a pub in a small Australian town. To say the result is a culture clash would be an understatement. In a pub full of men working down the mines and living way out in the middle of nowhere, the arrival of two new barmaids is a massive event, an event the two backpackers aren't totally keen to be a part of. A fictionalised version of this story will be released soon, but for now, have a look at this unique documentary. Thanks for watching. There are so many quality films coming out at the moment, but I think it's easy to miss a lot of them if you don't spend your time trawling through the film press or live near an art house cinema. So I wanted to put them together in a regular short video so cinema fans know they exist. That way it's easier to find a great unique film to watch than start another endless TV series. And maybe I'll add some film related stories you might be interested in. Thanks to the actors' strike, I've time to do this at the moment. I mainly work as an assistant director, and with the strike on there are less jobs than usual around. It's likely to be that way for quite a while, even when they reach an agreement. I intend to make these videos every week or so up until Christmas, at which point we can see if people are interested in watching them.